Hello everyone, welcome back to another card review. Today we're taking a look at Radiance, Emperor Chaos's Imperial Airship. This card was actually recommended to me in my comment section of the last video that I did. So if you want your own card suggested to me, please do leave a comment down below. I'll try and get to everyone's opinions on that in the future. But Radiance here, I'm gonna slot right away into A tier. There's so much going on with this card, there's a lot to talk about, so we're gonna dive in. First thing to note about this card is that Radiance's Faeria cost equals your life. And this always will equal your life total no matter where Radiance is, so if it's in your deck, or in your hand, or on the board, it will always equal your life cost. And this is actually one of two cards in the game that can actually change its Faeria cost while existing on the board. And you might be asking, well, who cares? And you'd probably be right about that. But there is one interaction in the game that this actually matters a lot for, and that is with Orisay. Now, you probably won't be playing Orisay with Radiance so often, but Orisay will count Radiance's current Faeria cost, not whatever Faeria cost you played it as. So that is one tiny little thing to keep note of. Now, this card also heals and has Dash 3, both of which are excellent abilities. The Dash 3 alone is pretty solid. You can dash this 10-10 flyer insanely far away from your land, so you can like throw it at your opponent's face, you can throw it at your own face to protect yourself. The Dash 3 and flying is really excellent, and so is the healing. Now, when you're deck building with this card, there's two things to consider here, and one is the healing. You'll notice probably that you need a large hand size to make use of good healing with this card. If you don't have a deck with a lot of draw, you don't have many cards in hand, it's not going to heal you for very much. But you don't necessarily need the heal. It is good to have, but it can also just be a cheap 10-10. You can get this down to 1 cost potentially, and throw down a 1 cost 10-10, which is pretty insane, again with Dash 3. So whether you're playing this for healing, or the giant efficient 10-10, or both, generally you are going to want a controllable source of self-burn. And when I say self-burn, it's just any cards that deal damage to yourself. So here are some examples of self-burn cards. This mechanic really lets you control the damage that you're taking, and it also means that you can take this damage while you're a safe distance away from your opponent. All of these cards are pretty playable. You might want a combination of cards. Like Soul Pact and Shaitan Demon aren't exactly going to get you down to really low life totals right away, so you might want to compare these cards up with like Altar of Souls, Annoying Gnat, things like that. One thing to note about the Blood Song here, though, is that you kind of have to be careful with this if you want to use it with Radiance, because Blood Song discounts can actually hit Radiance, and it won't discount the Radiance at all, but you will lose your discounts, if that makes sense. So this goes for any type of discount cards, like Bold Bargainer or something. Radiance is a valid target for these types of cards, but Radiance's cost always equals your life total, so essentially these discounts will just always be lost when it hits Radiance. Cards like Spite Sprite and Blightblade Knight are technically self-burn cards, but these kind of cards somewhat rely on your opponent, which makes them a bit less of a controllable source of self-burn. So hopefully you can kind of get what I mean by a controllable source of self-burn. These types of cards you actually have to throw at your opponent, and your opponent can somewhat control when you take this damage, and you want to be in control of that. Now, you can use Radiance without self-burn cards, but it is extremely situational. You can do this, but maybe only if your deck is extremely weak to burn or rush or something, and burn or rush is on ladder a lot, and maybe command just isn't working for you, or other types of healing isn't working for you. But you have to be facing burn a lot on the ranked ladder to justify this, or maybe you're prepping a tournament lineup and your entire lineup is super weak to burn, so Radiance just fits in the deck. But your deck also has to be quite specific. If you're running Radiance in a non-self-burn deck, that means that you're solely using it for healing. You're not using it for the body, it's just for healing. And that also means that you need a large hand size in order to get as much healing out of this. And this is especially true because the source of damage you're going to be taking is probably from your opponent's creatures, maybe burn as well, but if it's from your opponent's creatures, that means you're going to have opponent's creatures at your face, so you really need that extra healing so that you can play Radiance and then actually survive long enough for Radiance to have a turn to actually hit into stuff. It does of course get a little scarier against burn because they have indirect damage, so if they get you down super low, it can be a difficult decision on when to actually pop Radiance. You might actually want to play Radiance when you're at like 4 life or even higher as a higher cost just to save yourself. Gonna have to card count and see, do they have like double flame burst as an option? Maybe you want to even play Radiance when you're on 6 life. Generally you want to play it for as little as possible, but if you're against burn, you might want to pop it a bit early. So as an example for a non-self-burn type of list that you would include Radiance in, here's an illusion list that I've played in the past and I just popped in Radiance here. Now I'm not going to do a sample match for this because like I said, you need a very specific purpose for Radiance in a list without self-burn, but this type of list has a lot of draw already in it in the form of Tail of the Old Turtle and that one Curious Biomancer there. Biomancer can actually draw into Radiance, which is kind of neat, but yeah, you definitely need draw, and this type of list is also kind of weak to burn creatures, especially because of all of the small bodies. Bloated Toad especially very weak into red stuff, so Radiance is an alright pick if you're expecting to face a lot of burn on ladder or in your tournament lineup. But like I said, you don't necessarily need a large hand size. If you are going down the self-burn route, dropping a 10-10 with dash 3 flying is already pretty great, so you can kind of build like tempo lists around this as well. But let's talk about lists. I've brought 2 yellow lists to show you here today. Typically yellow is your best color, as you saw there's many yellow self-burn cards, but these 2 decks function quite a bit differently, so they will be interesting to get into. But let's first talk about Gnats, because you can never play Gnats without a Radiance. This is the necessary piece to the Gnat deck. Annoying Gnat is a card that pretty much never dies. Anytime that he does die, you deal 2 damage to yourself, and then the creature just reproduces itself. So this works super well with sack mechanics like Demon Wrangler and Lord of the Wastes, because you essentially have infinite sack targets with this Gnat. And this is going to pair up with Weeping Idol, which will give you Faeria every time you take damage. So every time that Gnat dies, you gain extra Faeria every single time. So every time you sack a creature, every time your opponent just kills the Gnat, you get extra Faeria. So this list, as you can probably tell, generates quite a lot of Faeria, so we need some expensive stuff in this list to make up for that, and it fits so perfectly to include the Husk package in this list, and the Husk package is of course Storyteller, My Merchant, Haunted Husk, and Soul Pact as well. This package requires a lot of Faeria because Storyteller draws you 2 cards, and a My Merchant gives you a 5 cost to play, so it's essentially like an 8 cost card. So it's a really expensive list to play, so the extra Faeria generation can go quite a long ways in this. And the Storyteller, as a nice little added bonus, heals you. So you get a nice little bit of healing. Now you don't want to rely on Radiance to heal you alone with this type of list, so you do want other sources of healing. So Storyteller heals you, even Husk heals you, which is usually not relevant, but in this type of list it is very relevant. Husk, I only want to run 2 of though, largely because it's a 4-land card now, since it was nerfed, but also because of Weeping Idol, we have a lot of structures in this list already, and you don't want to clutter your lands too much, so you kind of have to pick and choose what structures you want. And then the only other form of healing really is Soul Drain, but it's a super great healing card. It is 2 damage and the 2 healing, so a really nice card for that. Now you might notice in this list that we've got some awkward land counts. We've got Last Nightmare, which is 3 deserts, and we've got Wild Avenger, which is 2 forests, and the rest of the deck is only 2 deserts and 1 forest. So usually I try and say to make your land counts as small as possible, but with this type of list, Avenger is a really great card. Now I don't want to run 3 of them because they are kind of, you kind of just want like 1 here or there to either lock down your opponent as a taunt or drop this massive Wild Avenger at your opponent's face, because this is going to be near impossible to deal with unless your opponent has like Transform, Last Nightmare or something, because this guy will build up to a massive life total. But it is very expensive at 6 cost. I did say that you have a lot of Faeria to spend on this list, but you want that Faeria going towards more important things such as your Husk package. Wild Avenger doesn't do a lot besides the taunt, so 2 of is absolutely fine for this. And then essentially you don't build your second forest until you absolutely need it. And the nightmares I've extended to because this list doesn't have a lot of ways to deal with big things. And you generate a lot of Faeria here. You're fine to build that extra land. And another reason for these extra lands is you need land space for your structures to go on, and you potentially need lands for your merchant cards as well, because merchant can get you up to like 6 land cards, which are really good and playable. So I think it's absolutely fine to run Nightmare and Avenger in this list, even though it kind of goes against my whole land count rule. Normally I wouldn't do this, but definitely in this list is pretty good. And then the last card I want to talk about, I know I've been ranting a lot about this list, but the last card I want to talk about is Ariana. Now this card is really interesting in this type of list. Usually Ariana you don't want to be playing too much because it's very expensive. The treasures are nice, but essentially 4 Faeria for a 2-life creature is very expensive. But this does generate a lot of Faeria, so it gives you kind of a Faeria sink to spend on if you're not drawing into a lot of stuff. But another thing that this card does is it prevents fatigue. Now fatigue actually comes in very important in this type of list because it plays quite slowly, and you are drawing a lot with Storyteller and Husk. So fatigue does come into play sometimes, not all the time, but you do need to be aware of that, and Ariana can actually help you with the fatigue, because when you play it, you get a treasure put on the top of your deck, so that actually saves you from the fatigue damage for 1 turn, and as long as you can keep on killing off Ariana, you can keep getting treasures on the top of your deck and saving yourself from fatigue. Now you can consider Bannon in this type of list. Lots of other players play Bannon in this type of list because it fits the same role that I was kind of talking about with Ariana. But me personally, I really like Ariana because it's more of a early gameplay and mid gameplay and late gameplay, whereas Bannon, when you draw Bannon, he's kind of useless until you actually are almost at fatigue. So I like Ariana a lot more in this slot because I just think that it's more versatile. But if you want to have some fun, Bannon's definitely an okay answer. I'd probably swap out Bannon with the Ariana if you do that though, because they're kind of fitting the same role. But yeah, anyways, I've ranted enough. Let's get into the match, and then we'll focus on the Ultra Souls list after. Alright. So Mulligan on this is pretty interesting. Typically you're gonna look for Storyteller, Merchant, Ariana, or Lord of Wastes. There are some tricky things with Lord of Wastes, but let me pick my other cards. We're gonna get rid of Reaping Idol, we don't need this. This is more of a combo-oriented card, but Soul Drain's fine keep. Now Lord of Wastes, especially with the Explorer, is a very excellent turn 1 play. You don't necessarily need the sack, a sack target for this. You typically just get the value anyways. Especially with a turn 1 play, it's essentially like a 4-cost card. 4-cost 6/4, pretty excellent value. And I think I am actually going to take the Lord of Wastes here. This might feel a bit silly, but we're going to fight the Axe Grinder side, because I want this merchant to be able to fly off and double collect for me in case this guy is a bit more aggressive. Now typically against a red list, or at least against Burn, okay it's not Burn, but if you are facing Burn, you never want to play the Gnat. Gnat is way too much of a liability. And the deck can do just fine against Burn because Wild Avenger they can't deal with whatsoever. And they deal a lot of face pings, so Wild Avenger can get up pretty nice and juicy. I'm gonna play Merchant in our double collection spot. Okay, this could be kind of tough actually. Boss is really tricky because this is super good into Nat. I might actually be taking the boss here. As good as Swordfish is, I should have answers for the Swordfish, right? Demon Wrangler. Hopefully we can draw into Nat soon. I don't think I can give my opponent the boss, though. It's way too good into the Nat. So we're gonna take the boss. Swordfish is big, but yeah, we're gonna take the boss. Another thing that I didn't mention, so on the mulligan, I mentioned 9 cards you can mulligan for. But you can also keep Annoying Gnat and Wrangler both if you have both in hand. I think if you don't have that 2-card combo in your immediate opening hand, you just do a full mulligan, try and find a starting creature, but that's a pretty decent keep as well. Annoying Gnat cannot collect, so you don't really want that to start. That doesn't count as a starting creature, but we have 3 copies of the Gnat so that we can draw into them more consistently. You usually only want to play 1 copy of Gnat, sometimes 2 in certain situations. Mainly against blue, 2 copies is fine, because blue doesn't have a lot of answers to the Gnats. Ooh, investing a pre-buff here. Okay. So now I have an option to draw or just build lands, and I think I'm going to build lands because I'm not close to Husk yet. I would like to build up to Husk lands. So we're just going to build up the Husk lands. And I'm going to build defensive lands here as well. Yes. Could build the center land. Center land is pretty okay for structure spots. So that's a consideration. It's definitely a consideration, but I think we're just gonna go for this space here. We should be fine. Because we have this space, and another desert to build in the future, so we should be fine with these 2 spaces. Yeah. Gonna drop the Forgeling that I gave him. Okay. He's gonna play a very slow list as well. I suppose if the game goes on long enough, he actually wins. Unless I get, like, really good Ariana treasures, because I'm not running Bannon in this version, like I mentioned, so... might have to put on some pressure. I just don't want to invest until he's invested. I want to invest my lands there. Might go like this. We'll sidestep you and drop my merchant here. Gives us another flyer on left side. I think we'll go for Copter. Lancer's pretty good for him to have. Another thing we might want to watch out for is actually Hook. But Copter's so good, we're going to take the Copter. So now I can just draw, I think. Do I draw? I am quite spooked of Hook now, actually. I might have to play around that. Yeah, I think I'm actually going to play around that. No, like you can't Hook this turn, but I'm a little spooked about him getting the center land and then just one-shotting me with the unstable Forgeling. So what I'm going to do is put my structure on the center land. I probably should have put my original forest there. And now the reason I build a forest here is because the forests are kind of useless. Like, the deserts are the most important land in this list, so I want to be keeping my desert options open so that I can do like a Annoying Gnat into Wrangler or something like that. So I don't want to like cover all my deserts if I can help it. Okay, lands have been invested, and he's going for the Swordfish. Super fine with that. I think he should have invested in right side though. Because I've got most of my lands built up on left side, so it's already pretty structurally defensive. Not a bad Copter, I believe. So if we Copter, this is on 5, and then we can clean it up with Soul Drain. Can even do a Wrangler, but I think we'll save the Wranglers. No need to Nightmare, so I might actually oh no, I need to build a land to Copter. Okay, we're investing our final land, but that's pretty fine. He's chosen to invest double neutral here, so building these defensive lands is pretty fine for me. Throw in this Copter. I think the 6/4 just takes it, yeah? Now Salamander can be a thing, so I'm not gonna Demon Wrangle. Keeping this at 3 life is pretty important, I think. I'm not sure what stepping up does. Does this play into anything? It plays into Firestorm, but I wouldn't really expect Firestorm to be in this. I do want to drop the boss. We could play around Firestorm. I just don't expect to see it, so I think I can take that risk. Actually gonna... yeah, we'll stay here. So we're gonna stay here because of Hook, once again. I don't want to be... I don't want... if I step back defensively, he can Hook, and then teleport, and then build an aggressive land. Oh, well, he can't do that this turn, but at least he can Hook and go here. So this is a pretty safe spot for my merchant. I don't particularly want to go to double collection because then he just threatens me. So this is going to be a pretty good spot for now. He's stepping center. That is very telling of what's to come. So yeah, we got to be careful of... we have to have an answer to this if he decides to Hook like the idol or something. Another real big issue actually is if he has Flame Burst in this list, he can just Flame Burst this. So we might actually take the Nightmare. Just because we might have to play around the Hook shot. I think that's really important. We do have Gnat now. That's excellent. Oh, if I can take a clear here, I don't think I can. We're just gonna take... what am I doing? We're Nightmaring and we're doing Gnat Wrangler. How much does that give me? We're gonna do this. Gnat Wrangler gives me +1. That goes to 9. We can go to 10, so I need 1 collection. Which I should be able to get, so I should be able to draw. Oh wait, I need to Soul Drain this. Well, I can't do all of that. So we might have to trade our 3/3, and then that means that's fine. Take a draw. Maybe we get Soul Pact. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to trade both creatures. We have to Gnat first to gain the Faeria this way. Wrangler here. We'll throw the Nightmare in. Gives us exactly the amount of Faeria that I need. Okay. Now, the reason I put the 2/1 over here is to play out of Salamander range. There was an option to put the... I guess I could have put the 2/1 here and that was fine. But then that plays into Copter as well. Yeah, this is a fine spot for Wrangler. Plays out of AoE stuff. Typically, green-red will not... or like, green-red Salamander will not run Firestorm, but Copter is a potential. Because it pairs nicely with Salamander. What did I give him with the Merchant? There was the 3/5 Jumper. We dealt with the Swordfish. So I think it's just the 3/5 Jumper. This is gonna be Crackthorn. A Hook! Alright. See the first Hook into Wrath. That's a pretty good play. Maybe I should have played around that. I definitely should have played around that because it was obvious that he had the Hook, right? I definitely should have played around that. So that's spooky. That is very spooky. I might want to Avenger. I think I'm going to take a draw at least, because 8 to the face is a lot. This gives us 3 each. 8 life. If we do another one, then we're on 9 life and we dodge that +3 attack. So I think we'll go for another one. Can play the Avenger to taunt. Go on the well here. Now another thing to consider. I could step here and actually threaten this guy. Not threaten, but like, I kind of want this guy to die off so that I get more stats. It's pretty likely that he finds an answer to this, though. Especially if there's a buff. I think I'm gonna take this. Do I step here? Do I want that extra ping? Let's go for it. If we can draw into Radiance at some point, might be worth it. It also takes this creature away from threat of the 3/3. Not that I really need the collections anymore. I kind of got a lot here, especially with this Weeping Idol on board. The very threatening thing is going to be Elderwood Embrace. So yeah, now in a typical situation, if you're ever facing Gnat, I can't remember if I said this or not, but if you're ever facing Gnat, you don't want to hit into the Gnats, because otherwise you're just going to buff up their Avengers, and make Radiance more likely. In this situation, depending on this person's hand, it could be a decent hit here, though. Elderwood Embrace is almost game losing. That is the one thing that I'm super afraid of. Just gonna draw, because we did see one Elderwood Embrace, so we know that it's in this person's deck. Okay, good news. There's a Crackthorn. Okay, let's see where the pings go. Yes! It hit the Gnat first. Excellent, so we got the extra stats here. Okay, and then that spawns over here. Not too bad. We have a Lord of Wastes. We're gonna take a draw, because we got a ton of Faeria. So it's starting to get spooky. Now I don't need to step up for the collection. I have plenty of Faeria here, so I might just be playing the Lord of Wastes as a 5 cost. We do want to take this trade though, because that just kind of has to happen. But we Soul Drain first for more healing. We'll take the trade. It kind of sucks that I can't answer this elsewise, because there's so many ways that I can boost the life of that guy even further, but yeah, we'll just play Lord of Wastes as is, without the sack. I might actually step this guy back now. No, we can keep you here. This gives us like a potential potential extra collection if I need it in the future. And I don't think that this person wants to step up the 5/6. Kind of needs to be drawing or +1ing. We are currently winning, but I am really low on cards. Like we've got a 1-card hand against 7, which is huge. So this still could go either way. A misstep, he says. I wonder if he realized the land wasn't needed. Oh, missed the Axe Grinders. Oh yeah, you don't really want the Axe Grinder spot there. Okay, another Soul Pact. We gotta keep drawing. There's a Radiance? Okay. So, here is a very ballsy play, but it's gonna pay off. Trust me. We're gonna play this Radiance for 9 cost. And it's gonna be worth it. We're gonna go for Soul Pact here, and it's gonna be worth it because our opponent has nothing to answer with. Unless there's a taunt that comes down, that kinda sucks. Okay, maybe there's a bit more thought to this. We get 1 healing with this Radiance. Is it worth it? Depends if there's taunts. Even still, does it even matter? I think it's gonna be worth it overall though. Even though I only get 1 healing, it's gonna make for a very close game, but we're gonna utilize this -3, play out of hook stuff. We're gonna step up and collect. We're gonna play out of hook stuff even more by stepping this Gnat forwards, I think. Very important that when you get to low life, now 10's not really low, but when you get down to low life, you need to protect the Gnat at all costs, which can be very difficult to do because hand removal can just kill it and then it spawns somewhere else. And this is another thing to consider when you're playing against Gnats. Typically you want to hold any sort of removal spells in hand. Even against like other creatures, you want to hold removal spells sometimes. And just go for the Gnat ping pong once you've mathed out that you have enough damage to win, where you just like save up like 3 hand removals maybe, remove this, pray that it comes close to a creature, hit with a creature, maybe it spawns to another creature, use the other hand removals. So it's really easy to beat a Crassius player when they're down super low, but you have to be careful about it. Okay, might find an answer here, which could be scary. I should have stepped up the 6/4 just to contest the 4/3 because I need to make sure that this Radiance isn't dying. Double neutral. Okay, we tell her first. We're gonna tell her aggressive. We kind of need to be aggressive now that my Radiance is gone too. Yeah, we tell her first. Just because this prevents healing from happening on our opponent. We tell her again. Oh! Do I have enough for this? What if we don't hit face here? We take the collection and we actually produce a forest and drop Wild Avenger. It's got 12 life. That just does so much, I feel. I kind of like it, because if we just hit face here, we're not actually doing that much. Not accomplishing that much. There's no other way I can deal damage to myself, so we're actually going to take this. It's pretty unlikely that he finds 6 damage to clear this anyways, so... Yeah, we'll dash onto this mountain. Step up the 1-1, because I'm on a healthy 14 life. So this will give me extra Faeria generation with the Weeping Idols. So our opponent has milled a Ground Shaker and milled a Grappling Hook. I don't think our opponent wanted either of those cards, though, to be fair. It's on 6 Faeria here. Gonna pray for a Crackthorn. That's actually a really nice answer because he gets to dash onto the forest here, which blocks my Radiance from actually coming in and hitting. That was probably the perfect card my opponent could have gotten. But I can actually clear this with Teller plus Gnat plus Soul Drain. Which I think is worth taking. We get to hit face for 10. I like it, and it's going to be really hard for him to find 4 damage, so I like this. Go hit here. We do all of our plays first before the Gnat. Because if I hit in right here, the Gnat might spawn and block my land somewhere else, so let's make sure that I've played everything that I want to play. Which I think I have. We're probably going to do the Husk, like here. Step up these guys. Alright, maybe we actually Merchant to see what we find. Maybe there's a game-winning play in here. I smell a Soul Eater. There's a Phantasm. I think we take the Soul Eater, though. We can actually play the Soul Eater here. Oh, no, I want a Soul Drain. That's fine. Yep, that's fine. We just gave him Phantasm. Oh no. That's fine. That just means we have to pre-hit here. We'll go boop. We go +1. Is Wrangler worth it? Not really, so we won't do anything. Yeah, maybe I should have kept the Phantasm, actually. He can Phantasm my taunt now. I just gave him an out. Well, not so much an out. I think that there's not many ways our opponent can do this anymore. Because just a Phantasm's probably not gonna cut it. Oh wait, yeah, he has to Phantasm the Radiance. What am I saying? Never mind, we're fine. We're absolutely fine. And we're down to 8 cards. So this is another reason why I think Ariana's a bit better than Bannon also. I haven't found that games go to fatigue that often in these matches. And in the odd chances that they do go down to fatigue, Ariana should be just enough to close out those games. So you don't really need Bannon, but again, it's just kind of a fun card to use. He says, I'm a worthy opponent. I'm throwing the well played, and that's gonna be it. So yeah, pretty good match. Showing off most of the deck. Not too much else to talk about, so let's jump into the next list. Alright, we are back with the Altar of Souls list. Now this was a list previously designed by the player Amoeba. I found this list on the hub from it's like 2 years old now or something. So I've made a few edits here to help the current meta. This plays as more so of a tempo list than the previous list we just saw. It focuses, of course, around Altar of Souls. And this card is very, very good value. It is quite land heavy because you want to generate these creatures as soon as possible, but 3 deserts is pretty fine for what it does. You get an infinite supply of 6 ones that cost 2. 2 costs for 6 ones is absolutely insane. That is incredible value. And to pair with these Altar of Souls, we have Mistral Guide. Mistral Guide, I think, is almost a must pick when you pair up with Altar of Souls, because it just gives more use to these 6 ones. It gives them flying and dash 2. Mistral Guide, I gotta do a whole other guide video on Mistral Guide because there's so many different interactions with Guide. But this type of list is again using a lot of structures. We have 3 Altar of Souls and 2 Weeping Idols this time. 5 seems to be the magic number for me. I don't know why, I just enjoy that number, I guess. Idol is not as important in this list, I feel, but the Altar of Souls definitely is. Altar of Souls always has a target on its back. It's in your opponent's best interest to throw everything at this altar because it just generates you so many resources. But yeah, so we have a lot of structures, so our lands are going to get quite crowded, and you're going to generate quite a lot of creatures. So Mistral Guide really helps you to send these 6 ones off, and then you can keep generating more and sending them off into the ocean spaces, and aggressively as well. So yeah, this play is quite tempo-like. We've got a limited land count of 3 deserts, 1 forest. Typically you're going to build up to 3 deserts and ignore the forest until you absolutely need it. Essentially for the Skyward Swordfish, Idol you don't really need to play either until you actually have the altar, or maybe if you have Soul Pact and you want to use the Soul Pact, you can just hold the Weeping Idol in hand until you absolutely need it, so that last forest can be held for quite a while. We also have Iona's Smile in this list to deck filter, so we get into our tempo cards a lot sooner. This allows us to draw into Radiance as well, which is pretty great to draw as early as possible, especially with this tempo style list. In the last list, we didn't really need selective drawing because it was a slower list. You're going to draw Radiance eventually at some point, but in this list, we want to draw Radiance quite quickly, if we can, because we're also going to be using Shade Demon, which is going to be bumping our life total down. We've got Soul Pact, which is going to be bumping our life down, and we've got the Altar of Souls, of course. Now, this list might look a little shy on actual stuff to play, because you might see this 3.1 average Faeria cost, which is actually offset by the huge 20 cost Radiance here, but the deck is actually extremely cheap, and it may appear that way, but Altar of Souls creatures can actually build up a lot in your hand. It's kind of surprising how much Faeria Altar of Souls actually costs, because you're having a creature every single turn to play. You even have the option to play double altar if you can, and that's 4 Faeria worth of creatures every single turn, as well as the cards that you're regularly drawing. These extra creatures that you hold up in your hand from the Altar of Souls, you can actually pair with Radiance quite nicely. It builds up hand size, so you get a sizable amount of healing, as well as a cheap discounted Radiance. But yeah, this is going to play kind of strangely. We'll talk a lot more when we get into the match, but it kind of plays tempo most of the time, but sometimes you need to defend certain areas of your board with the 6 ones and stuff, depending on the matchup, but I'll talk a lot more about that when we get into the game. So let's jump in and see how this deck goes. Alright, so starting creatures for this, I'm actually going to toss the altar here, even though the deck is centered around this. We are going to try to hope for a starting creature. Potentially, if I was going first, I would keep the altar, because going first you can get up to this 3 deserts quicker, but we're going to scoop all of this. Now, starting creatures for this list is going to be Shade Demon, Air Ellie, or Mistral Guide. And I know that I typically count like 2 land creatures as starting creatures, but Mistral Guide is a key element to this list. So you definitely want to keep this, and it's a good collector anyways. Now, we're just going to go desert to the side. So with this list also, Mistral Guide, like I said, this is a card that I kind of want to make another guide for, because there's so many different interactions with this card and so many different things to talk about with this card. It looks like we're going against memes. Love to see it. Just go desert to the side. So great thing with this list is taking these lands on C2 and E2. What is going on? C2 and E2 are great lands. If you're facing Rush, side lands can be better sometimes. But these C2 and E2 are great for Mistral Guide to send off units. I guess he's trying something new with this contesting my land here. Fair enough, I guess. To be fair, this 2-2 does contest a lot, especially with my poor air ally over here. Not gonna be able to do a lot. This is gonna make me think. We're gonna have to take this, I think. So normally this land is better for the Mistral Guide, but I don't want to open up a free land for my opponent here to step on with like a land trick. It's just way too vulnerable a spot, but so we're gonna take the side land here, but typically this spot is better. But because our opponent's playing strange lands, we're gonna have to also adapt to that strategy. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't mind it. I don't actually mind this at all. Those aren't bad line. Well, okay, the thing that's bad about this line formation is that it takes like extra lands to make it work. Yeah, I guess. Fair enough. I don't like it anymore. This thing sucks. We can just backpedal, right? Yeah, we can just backpedal. I do want to swordfish the 2-2s, because these are pretty great taunts. Well, yeah. If the 4-4 has to trade into it with a Humbling Vision or something, then the 4-4 trades into it. That's totally fine. We're probably going to try for Altar here. +1 allows us to play the thing, right? No. Yeah, +1 allows us to play the thing, so we're going to step back. Step here, we want to protect the altar as much as possible, so I think it goes here. This Explore is going to protect from Colossus spot. +1, we're going to altar here, we're going to Weeping Idol. Here? I guess here. Need to play you. I think we'll actually just sit here. Again, to just stop land trick shenanigans from him being able to step on my lands. But that was a nice turn. Got some really juicy just value there. Got to play my hand. Weeping Idol is so good to just generate you free Faeria. So we'll see what our opponent's got. This is a pretty nasty defense, but Frogify... wait, oh, it's only on 3 lands. Yeah, see, this is the problem with all of these neutrals and stuff. But typically that would be fine. Like, normally you go Lake, you could go double neutral, 3rd Lake on the well instead of all of these excess neutrals. 4-4 stepping back. But I admire the this kind of structure. It's actually quite interesting. Like eating up an extra land just to get the aggression with your hoppers. I think against certain matchups that would actually be kind of neat. Okay. Are we going to collect? I think we are. Take this trade. The 4-2 might be trading into this. We're also going to use the Fanatic here to take this trade. Does that mean drawing? I think that means drawing, because I have too much stuff. So another 6-1 comes down. We need to contest the Colossus, right? So we can put 6-1 center. And then that's pretty good. So Fanatic is going to go off this way. To be our collector over here, we're going to take this. We're going to take another boop, which gives us 4 Faeria. And then, yeah, you can slide over this way. There's another option to play another altar, but I think I don't need it here. Yeah, we're probably gonna go for a swordfish play next turn. Like, typically you just want the 1 altar, but 2 can work. 2 can work just fine. This might get commanded or something, but that's okay. The 6 ones are insane value. Like, largely because they're free cards. Like, you're not using up your card draw actions on the power wheel. You're actually just conjuring them out of thin air. So it's not only a 2-cost card, but it's also just a free card. And he found the clear on the altar. Really great to kill that altar early. It's too bad for our opponent that we have a second one, but yeah, if you face against the altar list, you kind of want to try killing this by all means necessary. Yeah, I guess if our opponent had command, he'd just command the structure, to be fair. Okay. I think we go for a draw again. Yeah, we can play our hand here, so we'll go for another draw. I want to kill this with the 3-2. Keep my Mistral Guide alive for as long as possible. So this just has to happen. Hopefully this second altar can't be answered. If this second altar gets answered, we're actually kind of in trouble. So we can play the Skyfish first. Let's see. Again, I wish I could talk more about Mistral Guide. Essentially how this interaction is going to work, we get -2 first, then -1 from the Swordfish. So I gotta figure out if that's worth going anywhere. Probably want to protect my structure. Even though this is super weak to like Humbling Vision, Frogify stuff, I think it's fine. We're gonna go -2 and probably -1 up like this. Could even stay here to prevent Ninja Toad, actually. No, this plays into the 4-4. Yeah, we're gonna have to dash here. We play this. We grab another Demon Boy. It's gonna send off this way. Yeah, the Mistral Guide is just so necessary for the Slaughtering Shadows, in my opinion, because it just, like, as you can see, all of my lands are now blocked by structures. So really important that I get to send these guys off. Right, there was that. I guess I could have sent the 6-1 here. But, yeah. Okay, so there is a Frogify. That's pretty good, though. That means Frogify is not gonna hit... Oh, sorry. I'm not running Avenger in this list. Yeah. This is this is kind of a more tempo-oriented list, but it's kind of weird the way it behaves. It doesn't behave like other tempo lists. It kind of has, like, dual uses. Like, against certain matchups you can go tempo where you just send these 6-1s at face. Against blue, where blue's a little bit more control-y, you do kind of have to be mildly more defensive. It's a Lijuan! Amazing card. So much fun. So I have 5-6 Faeria with this. So we're gonna take a draw, since nothing really costs much more than that. We get another Soul Pact. That would allow us to air... Oh! I should have air allied first. Definitely take this. Yeah, I should have air allied first, so I got a aggressive desert. That's a missed opportunity. So what we're gonna do is produce this land, and this allows my Mistral Guide to freely double collect while I have Slaughtering Shadow. Don't think I want a Soul Pact here. Actually... Okay, we are getting down very low life by doing this, but I think I want to block this center space so that he can't take out my idol. And we want to go defense, so there's an option to go aggressive. But the issue here is that I have no answers to anything aggressive that he plays, and he's winning the race currently. This person. I should start saying this this person. I never know. They've also generated a Lujuan card, which could be something, it could be nothing. But we gotta play around the something. 6 damage to face is not enough pressure. And alternatively, my opponent could also slam face. Probably doesn't want to do that, but it is an option, I guess. The Lujuan actually is saving this game for our opponent here. Real cheap collector that I can't deal with right now. I love the land structure though, it's very pretty. Or very intricate. Wait, Frogify? Okay, I don't agree with that, but that's okay. Take another draw. Plenty to play here, and we found the Radiance. Now I'm feeling mighty safe. We are just gonna take the Soul Drain and probably send this guy face. Where's the Swordfish go? 2-1. 2-1. I want the Swordfish a bit more defensive. So we're gonna come this way, and yeah, I think we can go aggressive this time. Yeah, I mean, we have to go aggressive at some point, so this seems like the perfect time. Mostly because we have some defensive tools here. The Airily can't really be answered unless a Ninja Toad is played, which is all of our opponent's Faeria investment, so this seems like a great opportunity to go face. But I think our opponent's land structure is going to cripple them a little bit. Ooh. Would you like some tea? Cheeky little Aurora play. Going for a 5th land. Interesting. Is there a follow-up for the Mistral Guide? Soul Pact. I think we can go for a Tempo Radiance here now and just win. Seems like that should be easy to do. Yeah, we can go face with Radiance and Shadow both, right? Just gotta be careful I'm not gonna die, but I think this should be fine. Is it fine? That's only 16 damage. I might actually dodge this Lujuan. The Lujuan's scary. I think I can win if I dodge the Lujuan. They've played 2 Frogify. Yeah, this isn't actually as easy a turn as I thought. I was just gonna dump the Radiance, but Pact heals me Radiance heals me 3. This becomes 6 cost. It's the best time for Radiance, so we're gonna Radiance. Yeah, we're just gonna go all in on this. Dash, dash. Dash, we're gonna run away from Lujuan here, just in case I need to defend. I am giving my opponent double collection. I guess I could have just killed it, huh? I don't know. On 4. Yeah, it's on 4. Can my opponent win if they're on 4? Probably not. I'm on 8 life. 4. It is possible though. If they get like just a Triton Warrior, and then they top deck like Ninja Toad, that doesn't really actually help. But there's also discounted cards with Lujuan, so there might be something sneaky. There could be something sneaky. Maybe like a Tide Lord comes down. Yeah, they're on 3, right? So Tide Lord could come down and then top deck Ninja Toad or something. And I only have 16 damage here, so I think that this is the safer play, allowing my opponent double collection. I'm gonna be able to block anyways. The Battletoads. Okay, Sunken Tower, what are you doing? Pushing away the 4/7. Alright. Got another Soul Pact. We're gonna take a draw. I should be pretty safe now that I can smash face for 10, right? So I want this Fanatic. I want the Swordfish to actually take the clear on the 4/2, I think. Instead of hitting face for like 16, because that's not really sustainable. We can play the Mistral Guide anyways. We just send everything face now, I think. So we'll go this face, and we'll go Fanatic face. And then that should guarantee our lethal here. Actually, the 6th one probably just takes the 2/2 out. Or do it this way, then we have more damage. I guess I could have also just plucked another 6th one, but whatever. We got it. No coming back now. On 8 life, 2 cards in hand, well 3 cards I guess. We got it. So actually pretty good instances of a tempo Radiance on both those games, right? This Radiance was fine, but like that first game at least, we got a tempo Radiance down and it paid off. This Radiance was, I suppose, naturally played. And we got a Colossus to try and fend off the Horde. Not gonna be enough. But that little Lugia one collected a lot. Got a lot of value in this match. But we are just gonna smack, smack. And GG. Alright, so that's it for this guide. Thanks everyone for watching. Hope you learned a little bit more about Radiance. But if you want to see me review a particular card next, please leave a comment down below. I love to hear all your thoughts. I got some great responses in my last video, so I'll just be picking the best one, or maybe if you guys like the best comment, then I can pick ones that you guys want to see. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.